hate this part, but if everybody could turn on their cameras if you're able, that would be great. Just because it's always better to be able to see folks. I keep it really informal, but it is kind of awkward sometimes when you're just kind of talking to a blank screen. And today, what I'm going to be talking about is not my research. I thought I would change up what I was talking about this year, but I'm not. I'm going to be talking about social media and how we use it in academia, rather than going over any of the research that I'm doing. But I did think I would introduce you to who I am, what I do, and how I use social media to kind of network, and how you might be able to use it in the work that you do, or as you kind of go through and build your career. But first, I wanted to hear who is in the room. So can you guys introduce yourselves, give me a little bit of background on who you are, where you're at school, what brings you to the program? Feel free to just jump right in.
I can start. Howdy, I'm
Okay.
Namisha. I just graduated from Texas A&M this past May. This is my 4th summer here at the center, and for my master's, I'm headed to Yale in the fall, and I'm here with Dr. Messiah and working on the All of Us data set.
Okay, cool. I'm from Navasota, which is right next to College Station, so I know the area well.
I can go next. So my name is Viviana Ramos. I am from South Laredo. I'm from south of Texas, so Laredo. I went to University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley for my bachelor's, which I finished this past May as well. And I will be going to A&M for my master's in public health.
Awesome.
And oh, yeah, and this summer I've been working with Dr. Fernandez.
Okay, great.
Hi, my name's Evan Papula. I'm a rising junior. I go to Howard University. I'm from Maryland, and I'm working with Dr. Nell.
Okay, great.
Howdy, my name is Luke Alejandro. I am gonna be a junior, and I go to Rice University. I see a little thing right there, so that's exciting. And I'm working with Dr. Fernandez.
Okay, cool. I went to Rice many, many years ago.
Can I ask what college?
I knew you were gonna ask. Love it.
Nice.
You?
I'm a Duncan.
Okay, that did not exist. Martell was barely a college when I was there. Like Martell started when I was there.
They're barely a college now.
Yeah, we started that chant.
Let's go.
Hello, I'm Anais. Sorry, I'm at work. So I also went to University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. I'm going there right now. I'm about to be a senior, and I'm studying biomedical sciences, and I'm working with Dr. Fernandez this summer.
Awesome. So are you guys working remotely from your respective places? Or are you guys in Dallas? So how does that work?
I'm in Dallas, so I come in every week.
Okay, cool. Okay, awesome. How's the weather down where you're at? Is it worse? In like Laredo?
Oh, yes, it's so bad. It's like dry. Even at night, like you feel like some wind, but that wind just feels like hot too. So there's no rest, barely in the mornings. Like I wake up early to take out my dogs, and even then it's like already starting to feel hot.
I took my dog out at 7 o'clock this morning and I was like, why am I already sweating?
Yeah.
It's disgusting. Okay, well, thanks for introducing yourselves. I am Serena Rodriguez. I went to Rice University for my undergrad. I did a master's abroad at Roehampton University in London. I did a master's in public health at the University of Texas School of Public Health. Went away for a little while, moved to New York and did something totally different, not in public health. And then ultimately went back and did my doctorate in public health and fell in love with research. And here I am doing work that I absolutely love and teaching and getting to work with awesome students and doing all the things that I really enjoy. I will share my screen. And you never know how this is going to work on what it's actually going to be sharing. So let me make it presentation mode. All right. I assume you're not seeing my notes, right?
No, we're not seeing your notes, just
Okay.
the slides.
Cool. I don't want to see my notes. There we go. There you are. Okay. So usually what I've done in the a while back, what I did was give this talk to our students about how I had used Twitter to kind of build a professional network. I don't use Twitter anymore for various reasons. So I've kind of changed it. I've kept the examples here for Twitter because I think the lessons are relevant. So you'll see that, and we'll talk about it, but I think that the sort of message is the same. So I just kind of changed it to say social media is your friend and how we build a network and a professional identity online. So I'll give you an overview of who I am. So I am an implementation scientist and a behavioral scientist. I build interventions and implement interventions in clinical settings. And I use community engagement, community-informed research to address health disparities. And what that looks like is I do interventions in clinical settings that address the health needs of refugee populations, mostly around cervical cancer screening, HPV vaccination, and then right now I've started moving into substance use. So what does it look like to address the needs of folks who are have substance use disorders? So I could add another circle on here that says substance use disorders and supporting folks who have opioid use disorder, and then mostly opioid use is what I focus on. But mostly I'm an implementation scientist. I focus on refugee health, cancer prevention and control, and substance use. And when I was on Twitter, which I'm still there, I just don't engage, this is what my profile looks like. Behavioral scientist, right? I think I changed it recently or last time, and it says implementation scientist. I'm an assistant professor at UT Health School of Public Health, focused on refugee health, cancer prevention, and IMPSI, implementation science. I'm an occasional global wanderer. You heard me say that I did my master's abroad. I've lived abroad in a couple of places. I will get overseas whenever I can. My pronouns are she, her, and then the disclaimer that whatever I'm saying on here, that's me, not who I just tagged, which is UT School of Public Health. And the way I kind of break this down is like professionally, this is who I am, right? I identify as a behavioral scientist, as an implementation scientist. This is also who I am. I'm an assistant professor, and this is where you can find me. This is the university that I'm at. This is what I'm interested in, refugee health, cancer prevention, and implementation scientist. And this is how those subject areas are hashtagged on Twitter. And that is kind of taking those buckets of things that I do and putting them very succinctly into that bio, because of course you only have a few characters to do that. Occasional global wanderer, it's just kind of saying, hey, I'm a real person and I have a little bit of a personality and I'm not all work, right? My pronouns and a disclaimer, like I said. And then again, here's my work. If you go to Google Scholar, all of my publications, all of my presentations, they're all there. Feel free to look it up. Have you guys heard from Dr. Patel this summer? So this is how he defines himself on Twitter. He's an assistant professor of epidemiology. Again, this is who he is. He's in the Department of Epidemiology. He is a pediatric and perinatal and occupational health. That's what he's interested in. He's a research physician. That's how he identifies. And he's at UT School of Public Health. He has a personality. This is like a nice picture. You can tell he likes the outdoors. Actually really looks like it's nice outside there. Dr. Nell looks like he likes to have fun. Like again, like he's not a stale person, right? So it's okay to kind of be like, hey, I'm a fun person. Assistant professor at UT School of Public Health. What does he focus on? Physical activity, epidemiologist. He's a Texas A&M alum, human, dog, and plant dad, kind of funny. He's a PhD in MS, and his disclaimer is that his opinions are his own. Dr. Messiah, you kind of get an idea of who she is from her background picture, and who she is from her statement, which is more of a statement versus like the brief little comments on who she is. So on a mission to end childhood obesity via research and advocacy, mom of 3, yogini who loves the hot room, previous US kayak team athlete, UM alum, and UT professor. Did you guys know that about her? That she's on the kayak team? Yeah, I always think that's so cool. So, like I said, I'm not on Twitter really as much anymore, but you can take these kind of principles on how you define yourself online and professionally, because we all have social media, whether that be TikTok, Threads, Instagram, we all have that personally, right? Like we all have personal accounts on everything. But I think the point here is that we can create professional identities as well. Like I have had a personal Twitter and a professional Twitter. I have a personal Facebook because I'm old, and then we have a professional Facebook for our lab. But you can create a professional identity and engage with others in that way. And one way that I'm kind of looking towards moving towards, because people are actually engaging on there, is LinkedIn. And especially as a student, that's a really good way to kind of network and meet people. I didn't believe it, but people actually do engage a lot on LinkedIn. You can like comment on people's things, and it's just like there's a feed. And you have a lot more room in your about section to describe who you are, but it's also it can be a lot drier, right? Like there's not a lot of personality in the way that I describe myself in this like really old description of who I am. This was when I was a postdoc like 4 years ago and doing a little bit different research, but it's not very exciting. I don't even think the background picture that I had that was up there was very interesting. So just to say that there are different opportunities online to kind of market yourself as a professional, but also don't forget to include in like a personality. Another example, Dr. Brown, who's in El Paso, we just kind of include these like long paragraphs about ourselves, which is okay. But I kind of like Dr. Shea's example where she breaks it up. She's passionate about teaching and mentoring. She started the AYA Star Lab, and this is a really good way to market herself. Her picture, her background is her lab, right? So this is where she's at. She's at our San Antonio campus, and her AYA Star Lab logo is in there. So that's how she's professionally identifying. So when you think of Dr. Shea, Dr. Preston, Dr. Betts, Dr. Murphy, you think of the AYA Star Lab at our school. So I think a lot is kind of moving towards using LinkedIn, like I said, and I think if you don't have a LinkedIn, that would be a good place to kind of start building a professional identity online and thinking about how you're going to describe yourself, right? Professionally, who are you? Are you an undergrad? You're an intern? You're a future, insert whatever here. You're a psychologist in training, you know, whatever that is. Professionally, this is how I identify. And then this is where you can find me. I'm at Rice University. I'm a future Yale student. You know, I'm at whatever. I'm in South Texas working as a whatever. And this is what I'm interested in. I'm interested in pediatric health and supporting youth who insert whatever here. I'm interested in health promotion, like interested in, you know, whatever that might be, and then get as specific as you can. Add a little bit of personality. I'm a real person. I like to collect books. I'm a soccer fanatic. I'm a professional cat whisperer. Something that just like makes somebody remember you, right? Rather than like a dry bio. I always remember people that kind of make me like, huh, okay, like I like them. Like I remember them and I want to work with them. And then any other information that you want to include in a bio, pronouns, any identifiers that you have, and any disclaimer. And the way I originally thought of this was for that 140 characters that you have in Twitter, right? So I am a assistant professor at UT Health, interested in health promotion. I personally am an ancient history nerd. I'm a she, her, but in things like LinkedIn, you can go a lot, you know, each one of those can be a full sentence or a couple of sentences to help build that brand or identity. On Twitter, we all know that there are hashtags. If you do use Twitter, there's a thing called academic Twitter, which is really helpful if you're looking at PhD programs. Folks use that a ton. PhD chat is actually really funny. I have this as an example because this particular tweet was normalizing getting a no. I think a lot of times on social media, what we do is like celebrate our wins, right? And like celebrate and share all of our like accomplishments. I know I've done that a lot on mine where it's like, oh, look at this like awesome thing, or like I'm sharing that I got this award and I'm super proud, and that's awesome. But also remember that like that's not all that we get and all we do. We get a lot of rejections. And I think it's really important in what we do to also normalize that we do receive no's, and it's not all like a lot of the manuscripts, because I write manuscripts all the time. A lot of the manuscripts that I submit are rejected before they're accepted somewhere else, right? And I'm never accepted on the first try. There's always reviewers who come back and say, hey, here's how you can tweak this, or here's some comments that we recommend, and that just makes it better. So I think normalizing this like process of receiving feedback, of getting a no, rather than always celebrating the wins, is important just as much as acknowledging the wins. Anyway, that's my rant on that. Things like if you're interested in epidemiology, there are these little nooks and crannies on different social media sites. So for example, on Twitter, there's EpiTwitter, and people will put that in their bios. And I'm sure on other things like LinkedIn and things that you can find specific nooks like that as well, where people put those kinds of things and you can find them. So this is where everybody is like epidemiologists. And if you're looking for specific types of epidemiologists, you just search EpiTwitter and they pop up. There are other ways that people identify that I think are really important. So for example, I'm the first person in my family to go to college, like my first person in my extended family, like on both sides, first person to go to college. So a lot of times people identify as first gen, and that is a really interesting conversation to be a part of on Twitter, and a really kind of awesome conversation to be a part of, and to engage with and to celebrate with other folks. And these are just some examples of the other people who are like first gen PhD student and other things like that. Cats are a big thing in academia, apparently. So this person was like mother of cats. You saw that Dr. Nell said he was a dog dad. For the longest time, my bio had my pinned tweet was about a cat judging me, which was entertaining. Because my cat did judge me. She continues to in her she's 15. She's judged me my entire academic career. So Dr. Pacheco Vega has an amazing website that I would highly recommend that you guys go to. And he has a specific all sorts of things, but he has this area called resources, and it's all about writing in academia, how to take notes, how to do literature reviews, resources for undergrads, how to use social media, everything, like how to organize your life as an academic and as a student. So like taking effective notes, advice for undergrads when you go back to school, resources for reading and taking notes on journal articles. I just bring this up because I've actually gone to his website to kind of help me when I'm writing and thinking about a literature review. It can feel daunting, right? Like I need to somehow summarize this new area and it's too much. And he gives you a good way to kind of start thinking about things, and he's really good at what he does. And he talks about kind of the same thing, right? So like how to build a professional identity as an academic on social media, or like a professional identity on social media. And he talks about the different tips for that. 5 ways in which Twitter can be useful in academic context. So I would say 5 ways in which social media can be useful as a student, right? Or as an academic, or as a professional. So the one way that you can use social media is to share and consume current knowledge in a timely fashion. So I will share and find academic articles online sometimes faster than when I've seen them. Like if I'm like just randomly scrolling through social media, I might see our dean post this journal article before I go to PubMed and I'm like, hey, I need to like think about and look up something about cancer survivorship, right? Like, I don't know that that article came out, but I know it came out because I'm like randomly scrolling social media. It's just another way to come across information that might be interesting to you. Another way to use social media is to build scholarly networks, which I think is a big thing. So like I said, Dr. Shea and colleagues started the AYA STAR Lab, which is Adolescent and Young Adult Cancer Scholarship Training and Research Lab. And their group does a really good job of marketing themselves and their work on social media. They tag each other all the time in everything that they do, both on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So they use all the different networks to kind of keep on other people's radars, right? So other people who are doing adolescent and young adult cancer, they just kind of stay in the forefront of those people's minds. One example of how I was able to build a network using social media was Dr. Murphy, who is at a totally different university. She's somewhere on the East Coast. I can't remember. She's moved universities now. But she was looking at, she was writing a grant, and she needed someone who knew intervention mapping. I am trained in intervention mapping, which is a process for developing and implementing interventions. So I was like, she's like, hey, does anybody know who can do this? And I was like, hey, right here, I know how to do that, right? Like, I'm trained in how to do that. Do you want to work together? I've never met her in my life, but I was like, I know how to do this. Like, I'm really good at it. And my friend, Dennis Lee, we went to our we did our doctorates together. And so I had replied, and then he replied, and he's like, oh, I was going to recommend Dr. Rodriguez. And I was like, oh, let me bring in Dr. Betts. We ended up writing this grant with Dr. Murphy. Like, Dr. Betts and I were on a grant just based on social media and now we have this connection with Dr. Murphy, not Dr. Murphy at UT, but another Dr. Murphy, which is really cool. We would have never connected with her and her colleagues without kind of social media. Other people use social media to refine their research ideas. So coming across various studies and news and putting it out there and having conversations in the chats and things like that to kind of narrow it, have conversations about ideas. To obtain and provide emotional support. So people often post about passing their PhD defenses, like I said, about rejections, and just kind of giving support, asking for support, that kind of thing. To share resources in an environment of scarcity, you should never have to pay for a journal article. There is no, like a lot of times when we do research and our universities don't have access to a journal article, there's always a way to have access to it, right? Like I have literally gone on social media and been like, hey, does anybody have this journal article and can you send it to me? And I've gotten it. I would argue there's also additional ways that we can engage with colleagues using social media. So when I've been at conferences, I've gone on Instagram and other social media sites and said, hey, my poster is up, I'm here, I'm presenting in the whatever hall, come join, because every single conference is going to have their hashtag, right? And every single conference is reposting on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever is going on. So I get people who see that online and then come to my poster or come to my talk. So if you're presenting or if you're going to a conference, this is one way to engage with other people or to find other people, is to look at the hashtag on there and see who might be presenting things you're interested in, or to get people to come to you. Following universities and centers that you're interested in, we always post things on all of our social media accounts. We post all of our jobs, all of our internships, all of our things like that on Facebook, Instagram, probably Threads. It's called Threads, right? I am so old, guys. Yes, okay. And all the other social media accounts that we have. And then my favorite use is to shamelessly market yourself. I think this is the most important use of social media, of having a professional social media account, is to build a network by engaging with other people's content and creating content that other people want to see, and then also marketing yourself and saying, hey, I am doing this work that is important and that you should want to engage with and you should want to read, right? So, hey, look, I just wrote this really important paper. Other people who are interested in implementation science, you want to read this. I'm excited to present this paper at this conference this week. I'm going to put it out there. I publish interesting science that you want to read. Journals where we publish our work often have metrics on social media engagement, which is really interesting to me because they'll break it down by different social media sites and how your journal article and content is being engaged with. Just another interesting metric that we can use for just another interesting evaluation metric. Another way to kind of shamelessly market yourself is to not be afraid to be like, hey, I received this grant, right? I am nationally recognized in this area. Like, to start building your brand as a refugee, like, so this was for a refugee health project that I was doing. To start building my brand as a refugee health researcher, I want to put it out there that I got this national grant, this national award. So things like that are really important, to not be shy when saying what you're good at and what you want to do, and to build your sort of professional identity. And also to say, like, hey, other people want to hear what I have to say, right? Anytime you give a talk, or you're asked to kind of like speak on something that you're interested in. So I was asked to give a talk to the Department of Neurology. We took a screenshot and I talked about that. My friend was asked to give a talk at forgot where she was at here, but obviously, like, she wrote about it. So, like, always talking about what you're doing so that others know, when they think of obesity in this population, they think of Cher. When they think of refugee health, they think of me. So just kind of keeping your name in the game there. And then also, again, continuing to like kind of throw in having a personality. So this was like mid-pandemic, right? So like work from home pets was a thing. Like these were my dogs. And then again, if you have any work that you've done, if you've presented or as you start to build presentations and doing things at conferences, or even if you want to put any of your work online for people to see, you can build that out and like show people, right? So like my Google Scholar page has all of my manuscripts there and you can access that. And I want to have a link for people to access that. On my LinkedIn page, I think I have that link as well. And yeah, so like on someone's web page, like on Dr. Pacheco Vega's website, he's like, find me on all these places. ResearchGate is another place that we can have a web page. That's another sort of social media site for academics. Again, this is just like all the resources that he has, all of the way he organizes his research, how he defines himself. I'm an assistant professor here. This is what I'm interested in. Find me here. You can find my publications here. It's a lot of stuff. As you start to build like your identity as a person interested in, you know, XYZ, you might think about having like eventually a website or something. Dr. Cannell has a website, which I think is really cool that people can go to, like his students, and he teaches this class on R, which is a data analysis tool. So this is like his banner on there. He had somebody make a logo for him, and then he has his little biography, and then all the various social media ways that you can reach him. Or just, I don't even, what is this little cat thing? No clue? Cool. I don't know either. I don't know what half of these, I mean, I know Google, Instagram, I know all these guys. I don't know what this stacks thing is. But yeah, just different ways for people to reach you and see the work that you're doing as you build out your professional identity. Anyway, too long, didn't read. Define your interests, decide what makes you unique. Know that building a social media presence as a professional, that's a good way to kind of develop an identity, create a website to share your work if you'd like, and then don't be afraid to share it. I think social media is not just for personal use, but it's a way for us to market ourselves as a unique person with this set of skills that you want to work with. When you think of, again, if you think of refugee health, if you think of cancer prevention among refugees, I want you to think of me. So I want to put out content that is specific to those topic areas so that I'm always in your feed, and that when you think of that, you think of me. So figure out what that is for you and put it out there. And that is all I have, guys.
Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Rodriguez?
I feel old because like when I did this for the first time, it was like years ago. And now there's like threads, various other things. I don't even know if TikTok was a thing back then. But I know a lot of people, a lot of academics still use Twitter, and like academic Twitter is still a thing. Conferences, if you ever go to a conference, they're always going to use Twitter. So you can use that to engage with people, but I just personally don't do it anymore. But if you don't have questions about that, I'm happy to answer any other questions that you guys might have about anything. Or we can go early. Cool. Well, I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks for giving the presentation.
All right, thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you. Everyone.
Thank you.
Alrighty, bye.
Thank you.